Today we're going to paint in one colour. We are going to use one paint. I'm using this deep blue because there's lots of range within the tone. We want to choose a colour that we're going to enjoy working with because we're going to be doing quite a lot of it. And the video is not too fast at the moment because I'm showing you how I can paint back, which means I've done a deep blue petal shape and then I'm using water to take out some of the paint, which creates this incredibly translucent look. So it's darker blue and I'm using some water with my big brush to scoop out some of the paint. It leaves a nice sort of outliney gradient effect, which is what's going to look beautiful later on. So I'm leaving that to dry now and I'm creating different loose flower shapes with my paint. I'm wanting to show all the range in this colour that I've chosen. So I'm letting things blend in sometimes, and then other times I'm letting them dry, and I'm working in different tints and shades all over this page. So this daisy I'm doing that looks floppy and it's coming off that extremely light centre point. You can see all the ranges of colour I'm able to get out of this one blue in those petals. So how do you get these different tints and shades? You need to use lots of different amounts of water and paint. So the whole purpose of this exercise is to practice and see what you can make with your watercolours. I'm drawing flowers because it's what I naturally doodle. And what I want to be able to show myself here is the range I can get out of my paint. So I have the colour I need and I have a little palette next to me, and in the palette I mix a very sloshy wash with lots of water in and a less sloshy wash with more paint in. And then each time I dip in and out of that, I'm varying the amount of paint I take with me to draw with. So here you can see I'm using quite a heavy amount of paint because I want it to be quite deep. This is for the centre of a new flower. And I'm using quite precise brush strokes, whereas the flowers that I'm doing around the edge, I'm being more flowy and I'm using kind of washy paint. So here I start off with the paint and then pull with water to the edges of this flower to give it just a very pale blue. And here you can see I'm putting different tints and shades of petals behind the original, which I'm going to let dry before I come and work over them again. So in each instance I'm showing you that you can use extremely translucent paint and then heavier paint to add darkness and shade to your painting. My style is very loose. I want my flowers to overlap, but I'm also trying out different things as I go. So the amount of paint I'm using, which is varied in the flower, you can see at the moment. The fact that I'm leaving the option to paint over the top. So when you do another layer over the top of an already painted layer in watercolour, this is called scumbling. And what I'm doing is I'm moving from one flower to another and letting the paint dry before I go back in. So you can watch me scumble this flower here, and I'm adding shadow and depth and different layers that are just going to make it look a little more realistic. When I paint the petals, I'm taking off some paint again with the larger brush, and then I'm going to leave that to dry before I go back in and work over those. If you're doing a tonal painting like this and it's the first time you've done it, it's really important to choose a colour with a good tonal range. So that's why I've chosen blue. Other colours which will work well are dark reds and greens, browns as well. And if you chose a colour that's lighter, such as yellow, or has fewer options, then you'll find it a little bit more difficult to get the different depths of colour that I've managed to get with this colour here. I always like to fill my page, so I'm just adding in a few extra flowers now. I'm nearly there. I'm going to do this very sort of loose expressive flower because it's nice to sort of vary styles and try things out, and then I'm going to do a couple more things to fill in the space. So these open composition flowers at the bottom just sort of take things to the edge, and then I'll have one last daisy in here which will show off again all the colours I've worked out how to do. So very dry brush for the centre with a lot of paint, and then different layers in lighter and darker tints and shades from my blue.